Hello, everybody. It's Stewart A. Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moya Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the first week of December 2017. December already. And I hope that you will read my new blog, which will be published December 1, and you will see what I think about December.
Does it have a title?
Yes.
What?
It's called December.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. And that would entice me to read it.
You know, I spent weeks thinking of the title, and finally it came to me.
Yeah. You're brighter than people say.
Well, they don't say that.
That's
actually.
true.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of bright, which of course has nothing to do with my next article, I will tell you what's going on in the world, which confirms what I've been telling you for a very, very long time, and that is, there are mystery booms. Do you know that there are mystery booms?
Yeah.
And the last one was reported in Alabama. Over the past few weeks, in fact since the end of October, a series of booms have been reported shaking whole regions along, guess what? The North American Craton. I have been discussing that for a very long time, haven't I? And it said there were multiple reports of widespread rumbling, which could have been coming from here actually, which were reported across New Jersey, Alabama, Colorado, Southern California near San Diego, and actually also here in Michigan. But did you hear a boom?
Not that I know of.
Well, you did when you knocked my head against the wall and made that boom. Remember that one?
That's because you were.
Yeah, I think that's what people heard.
That's because you were sexually inappropriate.
Am I? Really?
Yes, I'm going to stop that, or I'm going to fire you in 40.
My hand accidentally
I'm going to
fell
fire you in 40 years if you don't stop that.
Okay. I can wait 40 years till you report that.
Stop it. Stop it.
Anyway, each location struck by booms also just so happened to be locations where earthquake forecasts had been issued. Did you know that they issue earthquake forecasts? I never.
Well, they kind of do, but then they say, oh, it can happen, like say in the next 10 or 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, which means tomorrow. And it said that all of the booms and rumbles were upon the edge of the North American Craton, again, which I have spoken about over the last at least minimum decade. And the North American Craton, and you can see it on the image, on the links that have been posted, that is an ancient tectonic fault line or continental outline, which existed a long time ago, which is now apparently moving. And it said when the earthquakes strike, the USGS, or the United States Geological Survey, changes it to a boom. They have a boom report instead of they change it, it's not an earthquake. Now the vibrations being felt and heard are shallow fractures which are occurring on the edge of the craton due to compression from the west. And I'm going to clarify that in a moment, which apparently give a single shock wave similar to an explosion. But I'm going to add something to that, because this pressure also coming from the east, which is from the North Atlantic Ridge in the middle of the ocean, which is part of the ancient Atlantean continent, which has also been moving lately, and significant 5-6 points on the scale. So North America is actually being crushed from both ends. So it's like this compression in the middle, and that's why all these earthquakes are happening.
And the booms.
And the booms. And so this will particularly, especially in 2018, have an effect on the New Madrid fault line, which goes through here in the Midwest, and the St. Lawrence Seaway. So keep your eyes on that. Now I have an interesting story, which I'm so glad I'm not associated with it, because you know what?
What?
It's about the Bali volcano going off, and I'm not there.
Oh, thank goodness.
How dare it go off without me?
2 years ago you were there.
Yes, and I was stuck there, yes.
Couple of weeks.
People know. Missed my birthday, which is why I need now.
We talked about that. You didn't miss
recovery birthday presents.
You just weren't there for
So apparently, 150,000 people had to leave their homes on the slopes of Mount Agong. Where the heck are they going to go on a volcanic island?
That's what I was wondering. Doesn't make much sense to me.
So the evacuations will cover people living within 10 kilometers of the crater. Disaster officials say people will be forcibly evacuated if needed. They tried to forcibly evacuate me from my rescue plane, if you remember, but I refused. Then they said that the evacuation for these people could last as long as a month. No thanks. And this volcano has been hurling ash 3,000 meters or 10,000 feet into the atmosphere. And they said that since it's the rainy season, it could cause a lahar. You know what a lahar is? You had lahar. You came from lahar. You were born on top of a lahar residue, which explains an awful lot. And they also warn people to stay away from rivers. Well, you should stay away from rivers in Indonesia anyway, even when there's no volcanic eruption. So, about 60,000 tourists have been stranded. Now, as of the very last day of November, they reopened the airport because the ash cloud moved to the south. But, as we know, the winds could blow it back in and the volcano can continue going off and I'll close it again. So if you're in Bali, get the heck out right now. And that could change at any time, so got to be careful. Well, heavy snow forecast, you know where?
Here?
Yes, but where is there heavy snow? Hawaii.
I saw that.
That's global warming. Yes, 20 inches of snow are expected across the peaks of Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa on the Big Island because of an intertropical convergence zone. That sounds like they need, therapy for that.
I actually saw people skiing down those places.
Yeah. And actually it says snow on Hawaii's peaks are not uncommon in the colder months because they're 14,000 feet high, or that would be about 4,000 meters. And believe it or not, Mauna Kea has a subarctic climate in Hawaii. Who knew? Anyway, last February they had a blizzard in Hawaii, and they said that into early and mid-December they're predicting a return to wintry weather here, because it had been a little bit warm. We had a polar vortex in early November, then it kind of warmed up a bit, now it's going to come back. And they said that a change will occur where extreme cold will enter the northern Rockies, then the plains, then the Midwest, and then the Northeast. And it's also cold in Europe and Siberia. What was very funny, and I don't know if any of you read the Q&A or the comments on the, which you should be, but there was a lady from Britain who wrote in what to do when it's going to be cold. It's going to be below, freezing. It's like, really? Seriously?
Come to Michigan.
Yeah, really.
And that will be warm.
Yeah, what to do if it goes below 0 Celsius. We go around naked when it's like that, right?
You do.
Well, I go around naked anyway, but don't tell anyone. That's abuse. That's really abuse. Anyway, let's talk about the former president and his wife.
Which one?
Mo.
Which one?
Obama.
Oh.
The former president.
There's a lot of former presidents.
Yeah,
still alive.
the last one. So something called the Judicial Watch, which obtained records from the U.S. Department of the Air Force and the Secret Service and the Freedom of Information, talked about the travel expenses of both President Barack Obama and Donald Trump. And apparently, you know how much Obama's expenses were traveling?
Yeah, they were a lot.
Almost $115 million. But so far, Trump has only been $10 million.
Well, Obama had 8 years, right?
Yeah, well, for example, on just one vacation that the Obama family took for February 14, 2014, I guess that was a Valentine's Day vacation, it cost over $272,000. We never went on a vacation that expensive.
Wow, that would take care of us for the next 10 years.
And when Michelle Obama went on her annual trip to Aspen with her daughters, that was almost $89,000.
Just for
and guess who
one trip?
paid for it?
Oh, of course we did.
And then Michelle Obama made 2 trips to North Carolina in 2016 to campaign for Hillary. That was a waste of money and time. And that military jet cost $5,300 per hour. Per hour, which actually is a bargain because, you know, one of my sons leases private jets, and he says it's $10,000. So they got a bargain. But you know what? My son has flown Obama and his wife, and he said they never paid. They didn't pay.
Well, we can't.
And they trashed the plane. He says it was, I'm not kidding, he said they trashed the plane.
Some things you shouldn't say.
I'm telling you. And the Air Force and Secret Service records showed President Obama's annual trip to Chicago, because he's from Chicago, and each trip cost $7.4 million.
I think I could do a nice trip to Chicago for like only $1 million.
We could have gone to like the best restaurants for like 10% of that.
Or so say like $0.4 million. I could do that.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, really. And so, since he left office, Obama, so far, I didn't know we have to pay for him after he left office, but $2 million so far in trips after he left office. And but the Air Force documents show that 2 of President Trump's trip to Mar-a-Lago, which is his private residence in Florida, was $1.1 million. How could that be? He could have just gone like first class on United or American Airlines. But Trump also flew to the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, and that trip cost $225,000. So my thing is, shouldn't presidents and their families pay their own way for their own personal private trips, especially going to their own houses?
I don't think so.
I would say so. Now, this next story is disturbing to me.
Only one story that disturbs you?
Well, this one particularly, because it's trashing my family. And it's from one of the British newspapers. And as you know, recently they have been writing a lot about me. And not, I don't know, were they nice or not nice? I don't know, like one article they had my wrong age, which was actually better for me. And then another article, they spelled my name wrong, so maybe it wasn't about me, but it was about me.
Sometimes they just quote you, and it's not trashing, or it's not a positive or negative, it's just there.
No, but there's something going on in Britain where they just like on me, and also now my family, because Russia, this is what the English are writing about this, the British. They're saying that the Russians launched an investigation into whether Tsar Nicholas II was killed with his family as part of a Jewish ritual murder.
That's interesting.
And the country's final emperor was shot with his wife and 5 children in 1918. And you know, my great-uncle became president in 1917. Anyway, in the Russian Orthodox Church insists he was murdered in a Jewish ritual. And this was from Father Tikhon Shevkunov, the Orthodox bishop heading the investigation panel. And some of the hardcore members of the church claimed the final Russian emperor was murdered in the Jewish blood ritual. Conspiracy theories blaming the Jews for spearheading the Bolshevik Revolution were popular among the post-revolution Russian emigres and the Russian Orthodox Church abroad. And then it states, top Bolshevik Yakov Swerdlow specifically ordered the killing of the last Tsar, and they said he was also Jewish. But he was a communist, he had no religion, and his father, my great-grandfather, Mikhail Swerdlow, was a member of the Russian Orthodox Church. So there's a lot of false information in all of the British newspaper. How unusual.
Well, it's false on everyone. They kind of tell the story the way they want it told.
And so UK newspapers seem to be on a mission to write false information or negative information on me and my family. But I received new information just this morning from Russia, in fact from someone from Sverdlovsk, named after my family, who told me that both the Russian government, the Romanov family, and the Orthodox Church are now unifying under a new Soviet Union. Where did you hear that, folks? And now it's confirmed from Russia.
How about that? Very cool.
Yeah.
I guess.
Which is why I'm wearing my
Your Russia shirt?
Two heads.
Yeah.
Because two heads are better than one.
People are going to ask about that shirt, so it's a good thing you explained what
Oh,
it
they
is.
trash me anyway, so what the hell?
Trash both of us.
Yeah, I might as well just do inappropriate things.
Stop it.
Oh.
Stop it.
And you stop it too. Oh, that's inappropriate.
Anyway.
You're fired.
On to North Korea.
I don't want to go to North Korea.
Apparently, North Korea, you may have heard, launched their latest missile was a bigger, better rocket than ever before, right?
Wait. Kim Jong-un likes big rockets because he has a very little one.
Anyway, the U.S. ambassador to the... If you were in Korea, they could actually do bad things to you for saying such things about their leader.
Actually, they did do bad things to me in Korea.
But you're not in North Korea.
Well, I was in the DMZ, remember?
The U.S. ambassador to the UN said the launch brings the U.S. closer to war. But,
you think?
But experts say the U.S. just might have to accept that North Korea is a nuclear state.
Right, that can't feed themselves or tie their shoelaces.
They said that photos released by North Korean media show the launch process as supervised by Kim Jong-un.
Ah, he's brilliant.
And reveal an entirely new missile, the Hwasong-15. Which is unlike anything ever seen from the nation.
We had that at Takeout one time.
This is a very big missile, said a researcher at the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies. He said, I don't mean big for North Korea. He said only a few countries can produce missiles of this size, and North Korea just joined the club. So this is another reason for you to get frightened, obviously, right?
So I have a question when you're done.
Okay, so anyway, another leading missile expert wrote that despite the missile's size, it still probably cannot send a heavy nuclear warhead as far as the U.S. East Coast. It also says that with a reasonably sized nuclear warhead on board, the missiles would still struggle to reach the U.S.'s West Coast.
Yeah, but we don't care if they destroy the West Coast, do we?
No, the West Coast is on the way out anyway, but yes, we do care.
No.
So, what is your question?
Well, if it's real, why wouldn't the U.S. or other countries have done something already? You know, if you're the president of the free world and this little puny country has this missile that now can attack anywhere in your country, and you go, let's tweet something nasty about Kim Jong-un, you big dope.
We keep telling you it's all just a show, so
well, that'll show them.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
Because it's all a bunch of crap.
Right, that's what I said. There's nothing to be afraid of. They're just trying to instill fear in you. Anyway, carrying on with Trump, there is a group called March On, which is a women's group, and it is a new organization founded by leaders, it said, of the massive women's protests the day after President Donald Trump's inauguration. Apparently, the group is offering for sale red Christmas sweaters embroidered with the word impeach. And then there's also a liberal activist named Tom Steyer who has a $10 million ad campaign on removing Trump. So anyway, lots of Trump activity going on still. New York Times was in the news about an article that they did called Originally in America's Heartland, the Nazi Sympathizer Next Door.
Which is which side?
Which they later changed to A Voice of Hate in America's Heartland. And this supposedly is about anybody living next door to you can be a white supremacist, and talks about how they're just normal people going about their way, but they happen to...
But they just hate everybody else.
I guess. And of course, a lot of people got upset about the article because they thought...
Because it's true.
Well, the point being is, you know, the more they focus on it, the more it grows. And then again, you know, hey, if this is your next door neighbor, why not you? Because they're helping people become very hateful.
You know, especially in this area, that's true story.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Anyway, so the New York Times then issued an apology saying, quote, "We regret the degree to which the piece offended so many readers. What we think is indisputable, though, is the need to shed more light, not less, on the most extreme corners of American life and the people who inhabit them." And my point is they are inciting hate and fear in people. And so then the more that they say, oh, it's this person and that person, it encourages people to start talking more and more, which then feeds this process, which continues then to go into this loop.
And so when the president tweets videos about Muslims blowing people up and killing people, that's part of that.
That's absolutely. It's all part of it.
Especially when they weren't even real videos, they were faked. And so
And remember, I've been talking to you about, New World religion and ritual and all that kind of thing. Well, to me, this was a ritual that occurred because one of the things I've been telling you is they want you to be able to witness death on television, and they're doing those kind of things.
Oh, yes.
And so here recently, we had a Bosnian Croat, and I'm going to say this in quotes, war criminal, because he did not feel he was a war criminal. 72 years old. He was appealing a decision that he was given a 20-year sentence for war crimes. He was appealing this in The Hague. And after this appeal, they did reduce some of the charges, but they did not suspend the 20-year sentence. And remember, he's 72. So he did not want to spend the rest of his life in jail. Right. So he drank a little bit of what he said was poison, and
it was, 'cause he's
basically
dead.
He died. But the interesting thing I found is, first of all, they didn't actually show him dropping, but they show him drinking the poison. So to me, that is a way of imprinting you.
Quite,
Well, it was very dramatic, I will say. And the interesting thing about this person, when they gave his history, a lot of things happened to a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And let me find, as I have it here. Before the war, he was a theater and film director and writer. Then he joined the Croatian army as a senior official when it was formed after the country achieved independence in 1991, and eventually named commander of the Croatian forces fighting in Bosnia. Now, there were a lot of people fighting in Bosnia, so they're not telling you everything, but they're just putting, in my opinion, somebody up for sacrifice, because when things happen in war, unfortunately, not that I agree with it, but to go back and then persecute somebody, so many years after all this has happened, that basically, I think that is a moral injustice.
And we were there, and we were even in Mostar where he supposedly committed these
crimes.
And you know that Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia, they were all part of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia means, Greater Slavic Nation, which it was. And only after they broke it up, all these problems began. Only after EU started to be formed and started to chop up countries, that's when these problems happened.
Yeah, and the Croatian Prime Minister said he regretted the death of Slobodan Praljak, the Serbian, or what did they call it, Croat general. He said his act, which we all unfortunately witness today, speaks most of a deep moral injustice towards 6 indicted Croats from Bosnia and the Croatian people. Now, there were 6 of them altogether. He was one of them. The government expresses its condolences to all victims of all crimes committed in the war in Bosnia-Herzegovina. We voice dissatisfaction and regret about the verdict. So my point being is, again, a lot of things happened during war, and a lot of times people were forced to do a lot of things. And then to hand select 5 or 6 people and put them up as examples, I don't think it does any good in the overall scheme of things. I think it does increase fear, hate, and, imprinting you with certain
before
things.
all of this happened, before Yugoslavia had this issue, Sarajevo, people lived together. Jews, Muslims, Christians, everybody lived together. There was no problem.
Yeah. No, it was very interesting. So anyways, I felt saddened by it all, but I understood why they wanted you to witness this on live television, because they're saying, how could he have even gotten the poison?
But they've been doing that a lot with people, like they're showing someone just before they die.
Yes.
They just show these videos all the time.
Yes. So, and that's because the next step, remember I told you about the robot. They don't show you a working robot that they have, because you say, oh, that's not really a robot. But they show you a little bits at a time. The head is open, no arms, no legs, a little bit of jerky movement.
Do you have that robot story?
Which one?
The one you did one time about the United Arab Emirates having the first robot
citizen.
Citizen.
I've reported on that several times.
Do you have another? Because you know what the follow-up is?
What?
Now that robot wants a child.
I did one on robots having children.
Well, this one specifically is like, well,
I'll tell you why. If they create one for this robot, I'll tell you why. Because that robot has citizenship, which means of Saudi Arabia. Which means if they
Saudi Arabia, that is it.
So if they allow, quote unquote,
was it United Arab Emirates?
No, it's Saudi Arabia. So if they allow this robot to have a child under the ways that they're talking about, and then that robot child will be a citizen as well.
Yes, but how are they going to go about doing that? Are they going to make the robot pregnant?
Yeah, I read about how they do it. They actually use the 3D printers and they take the traits from the other parent, so to speak, and they blend it with the traits of what they think this robot is, and then they put it together, and then they like 3D print this, whatever it is. And it was very interesting, but yes, I did that article, and I don't have all the details, but it's there, and that's what they're working toward, yeah. And then, now this I thought you would find interesting. This is kind of a throwback to the Las Vegas thing. Las Vegas man who survived being killed in Las Vegas, 52 years old, was killed while walking on a highway in Pahrump, about 60 miles west of Las Vegas.
Yeah, you know what Pahrump is?
Yeah. And his name was Roy McClellan. Of course, we've been talking about the Roys in the news, the king, so the king is dead. So anyway, so they survived the Las Vegas shooting, but yeah, there goes another witness, right? And they also mentioned this article that a Riverside, California couple who together survived the Las Vegas shooting, they were also killed in an automobile accident last month near their home. So suspicious, so too, there's three. Denise and Lorraine Carver also were killed. So
yeah, I read about that.
Very suspicious. Then we also, we were talking about the hand signals of Prince Harry, and I talked about the one he did with Melania Trump, you know, which was the devils.
It's like she's a devil.
Yeah. So, and then we were talking about Meghan Markle.
This time he had like a suit on, and he pointed.
Make sure they can see it in the camera. I don't know if they can or not.
His finger pointed, and these three fingers are underneath. So he's like, she is the Magdalene frequency. That's why I have to marry her.
Okay, so
that's what he's saying.
Now, it was interesting because we were talking about when we were in Notre Dame in France, and we saw the Black Madonna and all the representations of that, and we discussed it in length at that time what the Black Madonna meant.
Right.
So now we have a Black Princess or a Black Madonna.
Right.
Now, here it says in the article I'm reading that Meghan Markle won't be allowed to be a Black Princess.
We shall not have it.
Because apparently when they were first engaged, the headlines were saying things like Britain's relationship with race will change forever. However, the experts are saying that Markle will most likely be instructed by royal advisors to hide the fact that she's biracial. And she won't be end up doing this. Well, not a lot. She's relatively light-skinned, although her mother is black and father is white.
Yeah, can't hide that.
Said she won't be allowed to be a Black Princess. The only way she can be accepted is to pass for white. This is by an associate professor of sociology at Birmingham City University.
Maybe that's why they're promoting people to have any race they want to be. You can choose it even if it's not in your genetics.
Yeah.
Like that white guy that wanted to be Filipino.
Right, you can just,
And the white woman that was the head of NAACP.
We have to kind of ignore it because then nobody talks about it, so you don't know what you are, because what they're doing is they're taking away your true identity and replacing it with the identity that they can control.
And I'm a predictor. I think that Kate is jealous of her.
They all just have a role there. They don't
think so.
They're not jealous.
She is not amused.
No, they have roles, they play their roles, it doesn't matter. Anyway, this professor who launched the first Black Studies degree in Europe said if there are people who are celebrating, it's a bit naive and they will be very disappointed. Now, let's see, it says that the royal lineage is exclusively white except for the exception of Princess Sophie Charlotte, which is interesting because we have another Charlotte now that's coming up. Princess Sophie Charlotte, who married King George III in 1761 and was rumored to have African ancestry. This professor goes on to say the family is really strongly a symbol of British Empire whiteness. Listen to how now here in the U.S. this would probably be considered offensive, but there apparently it's not.
Right.
Having a splash of coffee in the monarchy doesn't make any bit of a difference. It doesn't change what the monarchy is. It doesn't change what it represents. And some of his neighbors were almost in mourning because they feel that the royal family should reflect the natives of the country.
Well, I read something where someone did a deep ancestral history of her, and she is related to Shakespeare. It didn't exist anyway.
I saw that, but no, I don't know if that one's true or not. But obviously she has some genetics, like we're talking about, you know, if it's a Magdalene heritage, then therefore they are going to make sure that they bring that blood into the family. After all, you would not have a white person in the Indian royal family. And then it says more proof. It says, and I kind of remembered this, that Prince Philip at one point made a comment to a Kenyan woman and said, "You are a woman, aren't you?" Because he was putting...
you are a reptile, aren't you, old bag?
And then it says that British people don't differentiate between being black and biracial, and Markle is referred to by residents as black. but she's not going to be a black princess. So again,
no, we shall not have it.
Yeah, the Black Madonna.
She's white.
That's why he's marrying her, Black Madonna. I thought it was very interesting. And speaking of ritual and sacrifice, this was very interesting to me, exceptionally interesting. An Indiana nurse.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Had a tweet which accused white baby boys of being future racists, terrorists, and killers. She said every white woman raises a detriment to society when they raise a son. Someone with the highest propensity to be a terrorist, rapist, racist, and domestic violence all-star. Historically, every son you had should be sacrificed to the wolves, then B-I-T-C-H.
She sounds like a lovely woman.
So
she's a nurse?
She's a nurse, and she was let go. She was a pediatrics nurse.
Wow, I'm so surprised.
Now, I don't know if you were here or not, but I did tell the story of, I can't remember who it was, but it was a professor who was talking about nuclear white families were propagating racism and that they should not exist.
What shouldn't exist?
A nuclear white family.
Uh-huh.
That was a story I think you were gone maybe when I did that. But I mean, these are just wild and crazy things, but it's teaching you to hate and dislike one another. That's the point of it all.
Divide and conquer.
All right, exactly. And so again, sacrifice, that's a buzzword out there for New World religion.
Well, you're my Indian princess.
I am.
I don't care.
And then, of course, we have all this Me Too, sexual exposure, sexual harassment stuff. And as I told you before, stop it. Stop doing that to me. I'll fire you in 40 years.
Other hand is accidentally slipping down to your buttocks.
It's horrible.
And squishing
it's
them.
It's awful. Stop it.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm deeply ashamed.
Matt Lauer is the newest person they gave the axe to, and that's all over the place. Apparently exposed himself, gave sex toys, dropped his trousers, flaunted his penis.
So in other words, just normal activity in the office.
And when Katie Couric bent over, he said, bend over like that, it's a nice view, referring to her top. And then they let CNN fired senior producer Teddy Davis over claims of inappropriate behavior. And then it went on with a few more people. And now Matt Lauer's apologizing. Now this was kind of an interesting statement. He talked about doing soul searching. Because to me, they're bringing out soul searching, right?
That's not what he was searching.
And he said in his statement, there is enough truth in these stories to make me feel embarrassed and ashamed. Even though some of it is untrue and mischaracterized.
Well, I believe that.
So it's now my full-time job to do this soul searching.
Yeah, because you don't have a job.
Because he has $1 billion. He doesn't need a job. Now, listen to this. This was in this article because remember how they throw these buzzwords out at you. This was not stated in the article, but they ran this piece on this piece of video. And on this piece of video, it said, the outlet reported that he would use his time traveling to harass women staffers. What
does that mean, time traveling?
Because I picked up his time, comma, traveling. But they didn't put a comma in, they just said time travel. So it's going in your brain very subliminally. You don't even have to read the article.
Very brilliant. You picked that up.
Time traveling, time traveling, time traveling. So that I thought was fascinating. And of course, again, here's our friend Roy Moore and the...
Not my friend.
Roy, because we talked about Roy, the king, the one that's dead now from Las Vegas. So back to this Roy Moore. Now they're saying that, let's see, this Breitbart news editor, Joel Pollack, pointed out that in the 1970s Ringo Starr song, that apparently he released this cover of You're 16, You're Beautiful and You're Mine, and Pollack said that Moore's behavior was no different than the lyrics in Ringo Starr's song, because Ringo Starr was a 30-something at the time singing about a 16-year-old. So what they're doing is, remember I talked about pedophilia, they're not saying, okay, it's okay to have sex with a 3-year-old, but what they're doing is they're saying, okay, first 21, okay, 18 is the age of consent, well then maybe 16 is the age of consent, maybe 14 is the age of consent. So they're bringing that age of consent down bit by bit by bit and getting you used to this idea. So anyway, I thought that was pretty fascinating. And then, now this is going to really upset you.
What?
Very much upset you. This is going on in the Trump White House. I saved this toward the end because you're just going to...
I was just thinking, we're probably not going to get invited to the wedding.
I don't know. Whose wedding?
The Harry and Meghan.
That has nothing to do with the Trump White House.
No, it just dawned on me, like we're not going to go.
Why?
Because we're saying terrible things about them.
I didn't say anything terrible. I was just reporting the news. Anyway, let me tell you what's happening in the Trump White House.
What?
Mistletoe.
Yeah.
Is that upsetting you?
No.
What's upsetting people? They're freaking out, it says.
Why?
Because the decoration is now considered in poor taste because of the recent wave of sexual harassment and assault allegations.
I don't get it, because he's supposed to kiss somebody underneath
Yeah.
it.
No, it's
So
not
that's
that
sexual
ridiculous.
abuse?
Yeah, and harassment. Hanging at mistletoe.
Well, so is having cotton on
Yeah, I know,
the
that's what
table.
I was thinking. It's the same thing. If you're black, you shouldn't eat at a
Yeah.
table with cotton. You should be offended.
Right.
You know, right? Or watermelon and fried chicken. So anyway, and then at this article about the mistletoe, at the end they report that Trump has been accused of sexual misconduct by 16 women. Like that has anything to do with mistletoe.
Only 16?
So, anyway, very interesting. Then in Thailand, now we've been telling you about all this stuff about butt sex, and I don't like that word, I will tell you. I think it's very crude, although it's acceptable.
What word would you use?
Bottom,
Oh,
behind.
that's, okay.
You know, those are
That's a
buttock.
potty, that's potty mouth.
Buttock. But anyway, the two American tourists in Thailand took a butt selfie.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that
That's
in
just
front of a
stupid.
famous
You know
Buddhist
what?
temple.
They deserve to be arrested because they're stupid.
Point being is the imprinting. We have been telling you that butt sex has to do with astral
By the way,
ritual.
they were married men to
Oh, they
each
were?
other.
They were married to each other?
They were on their honeymoon.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, anyway, anal sex is astral entry into this reality and ties a lot of astral stuff into you. So that's why they're promoting this now, and that's why these butt selfies are such a big thing.
I never even heard of this before.
I had reported on this
About
before.
butt selfies?
Yes, I reported on this. It's been a few months ago, but with tourists doing it in all different kinds of places.
Why?
I told you, it's
No,
sexual.
but what? Why?
Because monkey see, monkey do.
No, but why do they do it? Why do they think, oh, let's take a butt selfie?
Because
Why
somebody
would they?
did it and they're repeating it, and that's why I said if people see things and they repeat it, they don't know why they're doing anything. That's why I said you don't have control of your own mind
Most
if you're
people
doing
are
stuff like
stupid.
this. Now, this was interesting because and we've talked about this before, that Thailand has a reputation for racy nightlife, to put it
Yeah,
mildly.
exactly.
But it's also, then it goes on to say, the predominantly Buddhist country is deeply conservative and revealing clothing is frowned upon while public nudity is considered offensive. Anyway, these two men were traveling, and so they had an Instagram account with more than 14,000 followers. They had to take that down. And they're still being held at an immigration detention center while police consider a possible violation of Thailand's Computer Crime Act because the photograph was uploaded online.
Oh, just deport them and get out of there.
But the point is they want to make news with this because they want the butt thing so people will do it. So as I said, monkey see, monkey do, and that's why they're doing it. I mean, what self-serving, respectable person would do this and then post it online? You know, the same people, I mean, when you go online, all you see is pictures of everybody being naked. That's the thing. Because that's what they want you to do for sexual ritual. And I'm talking to you about sexual ritual, and I'm going to talk to you more about pedophilia next.
You are?
I am. There's a woman named Bahati Prinsloo. I guess she's married to a 28, or I guess she is a 28-year-old model, and married to actor Adam Levine.
Oh.
And so she posted what they're calling an adorable bare booty picture, or bottoms.
Of her?
No, of her husband and their daughter. So the husband, you need to look at this photo if you haven't seen it, but the husband, you know, you see his backside, and then he's holding the daughter's backside, hold her hand.
How old is she, the
daughter,
girl?
I think she's 2 or 3.
Well, I thought that's inappropriate.
It's absolutely inappropriate. Anyway, they're standing side by side, and then where their bottoms are, they have like peaches imposed. Because, you know, peaches have kind of that little indent where it would be a crack in your behind, right?
I see. How cute.
Now, what's interesting is they're heading for a bubble bath. So, should a father go into a bubble bath
No.
with a 2 or 3-year-old daughter?
Or son.
Even a son,
I would
agree.
never do
No.
that.
I wouldn't do that.
Ever.
It's not appropriate. So again, first of all, they were, and I've reported on this to you about the naked women with their naked little girls kissing them on the lips and hugging them, and like 2 or 3 years old. That's inappropriate.
No, I never
And
kissed
even
child
if,
on the lips.
and not only that, but I was thinking, even just a tiny baby, I mean, why? Remember, I'm telling you, nudity's all over the place, and all this has to do with ritual and so on and so forth. You know, all of this is totally inappropriate, but the more they show it, they say, oh, isn't this adorable? That it crosses this line, this fuzzy line in your mind about what's acceptable and what's not. Well, maybe it is, because this person's doing it, and then pretty soon that line keeps getting crossed further and further and further, and there is no line. So, it's not adorable. And then my last couple of articles. Now, we all know here in the U.S., of course, that marijuana is becoming legal in many states, and you and I have talked about this before. When you need something for medicine, it is different than recreational. In fact, you even knew a man who had lung cancer, I think you were telling me about, and he was taken in by indigenous people and
given
cigarettes, not the commercial cigarettes, but the native tobacco, and it cured. He was forced or told to, whatever you want to say, to smoke. And that actually cured his lung cancer many years ago. So things that are used medicinally because there's a reason is one thing. But to use things recreationally is something different. So I'm going to preface it with that. Now they're claiming that the next drug to become legal in California, Oregon, is going to be the magic mushrooms.
Ooh. Then we can go on a magic mystery mushroom tour.
So this person who's sponsoring it, Kevin Saunders, who wants to run the city of Marina,
I guess.
near San Francisco, says that Americans are ready for this because they are so stressed out in President Donald Trump's America that they need this.
Listen, they were stressed out way before that.
So he said, we've learned a lot from marijuana and we are ready as a society. I don't think so. And he's trying to collect enough signatures to put this on the ballot, apparently.
He must be a vegan as well.
And then
or
vegan. And then it says
it could be a vegan.
A similar 2020 ballot measure in Oregon could also make magic mushrooms legal there.
Can you make that for dinner tonight?
No.
Magic mushrooms?
No.
With gravy?
So, and on this, now this was also interesting to me about Brazil, because Brazil is giving some of its prisoners ayahuasca, they claim, to help reduce the rate of recidivism.
Ooh, that's a big word for you.
It is. So anyway, I thought this was interesting because what they're saying is that because they have such a burgeoning population in their prison system that they're going to try this. So there is a prisoners' rights advocacy group called ACUDA, who now thinks they should take these groups of inmates out into the jungle and give them ayahuasca. Which
will make them sick and throw up and hallucinatory. That's a brilliant idea.
They said that they're encouraging holistic services, so they're lumping all this together with yoga, Reiki, meditation, and ayahuasca journeying, and they're calling it all the same things. So the goal is to prevent these violent criminals from returning to prison, but they don't know if it'll work yet.
Well, most of them will probably die from the drugs anyway, so that's what the real point is.
They said it's just for now, it's just a few inmates participating. It's too early to tell whether the treatments will actually work, but the ones who are have signed up, I guess, it's like, okay, should I stay in prison with all this crowded?
Or go in the jungle and have ayahuasca. Gee, what should I do?
And get out of here and sit around for a while. But so they take about 15 prisoners each month to a temple, they're calling it. They treat them with these psychedelic drugs. And then they say, let's see. Well, I guess I didn't take all that out. You can read the article. It's very long. But anyway, they just sit there and they meditate and they do whatever, like... But this is interesting. Treating inmates with psychedelic drugs is thought to be rare. And of course, we know Timothy Leary had done that in the 60s. But there's a professor of psychiatry at the UCLA School of Medicine who has conducted extensive studies on ayahuasca. And he says under optimal conditions, it can produce a transformative experience in a person and it has great potential. But he said the brew could exacerbate the illnesses of people being treated with antipsychotic medications for schizophrenia or bipolar order.
Brains will explode.
Ingesting drugs like cocaine or methamphetamine before consuming ayahuasca is dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, they can do a lot of vomiting and a lot of bad things can happen. Now, the Acutis therapists also consume the ayahuasca tea with the inmates, as does the prison guards that take them.
Brilliant.
So
let's all go to Brazil and get arrested.
Yeah, so it's just bizarre. But it all has to do, remember, they want drugs involved in ritual.
This is why Brazil is not a major
New World
country.
religion, sexual, magic, ritual, all this stuff, bit by bit, they're getting you used to.
Rainforest left in the world and kills all the native people that no one has heard about and destroys. So Brazil is really progressive.
It's all over the world, unfortunately, but true.
That's why you have Brazil nuts.
And that's why you need to learn to control your own mind so other people don't control it for you.
Luckily, I have you to control my mind.
Yes, because I'm your handler.
Can you help? Here's the control.
Yeah, if you do that and you keep sexually harassing me, I'm going to fire you in 35, 40
What do you mean?
Years.
Where's my hand? Oh, my hand
I
is
don't
going
know.
somewhere.
Jeez, I don't know.
That's not where it's going.
No?
No.
Anyway, so what have we got going on?
Here.
Like our Facebook pages and share. What? New webinars are coming up. Well, actually, by the time they read this or hear this, I don't know.
There's
Maybe.
still time.
First Tuesday in December, we will have our next series of self-healing group webinars. The end of December, we will be on the island of Nevis. I don't know if the hotel room and the airfare has room for you. So if you want to come, you have to do that first. And then contact customer support at expansions.com to see if our tour has room for you. January is our class, of course, our once a year most intensive class. You want to be sure and attend if you're interested in hyperspace, oversoul immersion, and if you want to be in our oversoul mastermind group, you must have this class first.
And in January, I will go to New York to film a movie in my son's studio.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting where we will finally have be able to tell the Montauk story in the way it is supposed to be told instead of the way that all these people...
Swerdlow films.
Yeah, these people take the story and then they do whatever they want.
Our own
and
production company, finally.
They make people within the story look whatever they want.
And also in January, I will be I'm in the process with Alfred Weber in Canada, who's actually Cuban, and Magnus Olsson, director of Mindtech, and Sharp from Sweden and Poland. We have developed a live show called Matrix Deprogrammed, I actually named it, which will be syndicated globally about mind control programming, deprogramming, and a really great producer and director who I just was introduced to him, and great staff and great guests that we're going to have.
Yeah, and we're also working on, I didn't write that down, the Expansions
University.
Yeah.
Which is coming up very soon.
Yeah, monastic degree.
Which is the Expansions University School of Monastic Medicine Division of Pan American University.
Yes, and there you'll be able to get a degree in hyperspace, oversoul, health and healing, in mind control and deprogramming, and galactic history and true world history. Very exciting.
Then, in February, lots going on. And the dates haven't been completely, but I just got an email this morning from the health minister of the Dominican Republic, who, as you know, introduced me to the General of the Army, and they would like me to come in February to teach classes there. And I was also invited to Istanbul to do live television show. I'm very popular in Turkey.
I know, well, you just did that one, and they love that show.
They love it, and they can't wait for it. And also, I was just invited to Ecuador. Yes, so that's also in March.
Yeah.
March, Mexico. April, most likely Poland, and I know we have to go to New York at the end of April also. May, I was tentatively invited to Australia, which we'll see. And then June is
our trip to Italy, where we will walk the ancient paths of the Waldensians, and everybody who goes there, it works on the DNA. I'm not kidding you. There are so many people that things open up that very interesting.
And then there's a very possible investiture at Roslin Castle in Scotland.
Interesting. So we have lots of things going on, as you know.
And then July we have another son's wedding.
Yeah, lots of things going on.
Yeah.
So
all my children's getting married.
Get your membership, expansions.com. We appreciate your support, and that's how we can support you. Less than $1 a day.
That's what you give me, less than $1 a day. In fact, I don't get that much.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Facebook page and our YouTube channel, because that's how we get the information out. We depend on you, so thank you for your help. And until next time.
Excuse me, your hands are below the table. I need to see them at all times.
No, you only wish.
Oh, where are my hands going? I don't know. Did I inappropriately touch you?
No.
I didn't?
No.
Well, I'll keep trying.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.